Welcome to The Skeptic and the Psychic with Shay Carroll and Psychic Jen B. Live on Spreaker, Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. The Skeptic and the Psychic is brought to you by Paranormal Buzz Radio. We are also available on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, hello, my lovelies. I got distracted by chat. My friend Dell is here, and he and Jan haven't been in chat for a while. Welcome, everybody, to the Skeptic, and the Psychic. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm super excited, but first I need Shay to say hello.
Hello.
There we go. There's the Shay I love. Well, Shay, I'm excited. I hope you're excited. So Shay just got to meet my friend Beverly. So Beverly Ffriend is our guest tonight. Would you like to say hello, Bev?
Hello.
So everyone show her some love in the chat, please. So I was fortunate enough to meet Beverly at a holistic health fair. I'm not even sure if I told you that, Shay. Did I tell you that?
I think I heard it on the show, your last show she was on.
When she was on
her. I remember the show very well. So
it was a good show.
It was.
It was a good time. And we connected. Do you think so? They're crickets.
Well, you said you told her to wait, so you got to make sure you tell her. I'm talking to you, Beverly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we did connect. And since then, it's actually amazing. And the coincidences, the things that we have in common. So it's like we're soul sisters.
For sure. Yeah. We kind of have the same things either happening or have happened, and we can just really relate to each other.
Yep. We talk the same language.
Yep. And we both have 2 sons.
Yes, we do.
I have a son named Jacob. She has a grandson named Jacob. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
She has a son named Michael. My husband's middle name is Michael. I mean, this is craziness, right?
Yeah.
It is.
See, this is where Shay's skeptic side comes in. She'll go, they're popular names.
Yes and no, but no. I mean, no. I can relate to that very much. Coincidence or not, it's cool. Let's put it that way.
There we go. So if you guys haven't seen, I've already shared on our Facebook page the Paranormal Buzz Radio, as well as the Skeptic and the Psychic group page, a link to Beverly's website, yoursacredblueprint.com. And Beverly is a very gifted. You saw that?
Interrupt. No, I shared it an hour ago too.
Oh,
on
nice.
Paranormal Buzz, so that is up there. I did share it. So
thank you.
Yeah, so you guys can check that out while we're chatting. So Beverly's a very gifted energy worker. She is she does something that a lot of people haven't heard of, but it is an amazing energy gift. Is she does spiritual response therapy, and along with that, she does numerology. Tonight, we're picking her brain about numerology. So I was hoping you could tell us, though, a little bit about both and what brought you to it.
Well, what brought me to it would be fear. Fear brought me to it. I was a very fearful person, felt very lost in the world, felt like there was a rhyme and reason, just didn't know what it was, felt like everybody else did. And then when I heard about numerology, I took some classes, and it just clicked, and I can't not do it now. It's almost a sickness. And but I always knew, and I'm also a Reiki master, but I always knew there would be one other thing. And I want to say about 6 years ago, I was noticing that I was having a lot of the repetitive things happen in my life, maybe different people, but the end result was the same. Mm-hmm. And so I realized that the common thread was me. And so I decided that I didn't want that anymore. And if there was a way around it, I was going to find it, hopefully. And so that led me to calling one of my really dear friends, who is what they call an angel guide for Sedona Soul Adventures. And I was saying that I felt like I needed some karmic clearing. I didn't really even know where I got that word or that name. And anyway, one thing led to another. And I started working with SRT. Spiritual response therapy, we call SRT to kind of distill it down.
It is a mouthful.
It is. It is. So, yeah. But anyway, so I started working with a woman who is now my mentor. And I hadn't met her. We'd been working together about 3 years. And I didn't know you could learn it. And so once I found out that it could be learned, I did whatever it took to get myself to Sedona and learn it. And so, and there's just been no turning back ever since then. So numerology is based on your specific day, month, and year of birth. I know there's other things that you can read, but I feel I can get all the information that a person could need, just from those three things. And so what happens is once you sort of learn about yourself and the ever-changing personal year that you're in and personal month and how all that looks and feels and all of that, sometimes what we do is we come up against some blocks. And that's where SRT comes in, is that it helps to clear the blocks to the things that keep you from moving forward. We actually access your Akashic records, and it's a whole system. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Now, I don't know if anybody else heard Beverly kind of cut out a little bit, just so you guys know. It's snowing where she lives here in California. Yes, we have snow here in some places. So don't worry about it. She'll come back. Because we have some really great listeners who'll let us know when something like that happens. So I figured
it sounded electronic on my end, but I could understand her.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
Oh, good. Okay.
Dell says, what about twins? We'll get to that. So we're going to have
twins, you. So I hope we get to that.
Oh, there we go. Well, so Beverly is going to come back and speak about spiritual response therapy again. We're probably looking for some time in March, maybe beginning of April, depending on her schedule. But we're definitely talking about numerology tonight. And you had said you just mentioned something about personal numbers. So what does that mean?
So we have our day, month, and year of birth, and those are all energies. Numerology is 1 through 9. And so we have our energies that are with us. We have our life path energy that's with us always. And then we have specific time periods where we're governed by, so there's just a lot going on all at the same time, and there are overtones. But the way that we do our personal year, there's a formula that I use. And so every year we start a new personal year. So let's say, so there's a 9-year period of time that's called a pentacle. And within that pentacle, that 9 years, we move into each one of the energy every year, every calendar year. So on January 1, we step into a new energy that really starts wafting around us in October of every year. Well, after this 27th of September, actually. And the same is true for the universe. So, the universe has a year that the energy of the calendar year, and everything peaks on September 27th for everyone. And then you're still in that energy till the end of the calendar year, but you kind of
start transitioning between the two.
Yeah, so you're simultaneously in two energies, but one is waning and one is wafting.
Okay. No, that makes sense to me. Okay. So how does somebody, if they wanted to figure out what year they were in, what their numerology year was, how did they figure that out?
All right. So everything in numerology is distilled down to a single digit.
Okay.
And there's only 1 through 9. I know there is some stuff about the 0 and all that, but for our purposes, 1 through 9. And so if we take the year 2019, that distills down to a 3. So what you do is you just add the whole thing up and you just keep breaking it down to a single digit until you get that. And that's
okay.
So
9 plus 1 is 10, plus 3 is
plus 1.
Plus
See, that's the thing, is that I can't do regular math. I can't play blackjack in the casinos. I can't do anything like that because I just automatically go there. I mean, to me, right. It's just a 3. I just,
bam, it's a 3.
So it's hard for me to teach it because I don't know, my brain just does the shortcut all the time.
Yeah. So let's try the other way.
Would it be 20? Would it be 20 plus 19 and then go from there, or would it be 2 plus 0 is 2 plus?
So I would do it as I would do 9 plus 2 plus 1.
So you wouldn't even count the 0 because it's not going to count. Okay. And then you get 12, which makes 13.
And truthfully, I wouldn't even add the 9 because the 9 is when you get used to doing these formulas, the 9 you'll find is silent. Really, it's it doesn't add anything to the mix. It's everything. If I'm looking at a series of 5 numbers, I'll get rid of the 9s right away and then take whatever's left over. It's just how my brain works now. But if a person is, I've been doing this, 27, 28 years now. So it's who I am now. It's in my DNA. But if you want to know your personal year, what you would do is you would take your month of birth. So do you want to use yours, Jen?
My birth, I'll give you mine.
Okay.
I'm June 10th, 1976. I'm proud of my age, so.
Okay. Yeah, well, you have a great age. So if I was doing yours, I would take, first of all, you take what I call the universal year, which we just decided was a 3. And then you add that to your month and day of birth. So you're in a 1 year. So you take 6 and 1, which is 7, and you add 3. That makes a 10, but we distill it down to a single digit, so that's a 1.
When did we start the network, Shay?
October 1st.
So she started just like Beverly said, at the end of September is when you
already that
you're in a 1 year. You're adding June. What's your birth date again? 12?
10.
Okay, so June, so 6 plus 10 plus 2019 is a 1 for you. And Beverly said that the year starts shifting, the energy around it starts shifting at the end of September, so the beginning of October. So ones are about new things, right?
Yeah, it's about new things, and it's also about initiation.
And look at all the stuff you've been doing this year,
which is absolutely perfect. It's a seed planting time, is what it is. So we're planting seeds. All the things that we want to bring in for our next 9 years. If somebody's having a numerology reading with me, it's really an auspicious time to know that about yourself, and to know that while it may not be, you may not move very far in whatever it is, it's important to at least start it. If it's just important to start, because all the other years, energies that come after that they do their own part. They have their own right action in those things that you initiated in the 1. So
you're planting all your podcasts and seeds right now, and you're preparing them all for the next 9 years about your growth, is what she's saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's and that if that's the direction that you're wanting to go, then that's absolutely perfect. And so I would say to you, that anything that you want to bring in for the next 9 years, it's important to just begin. It doesn't matter, even if beginning is just writing down your intention, and you don't really know how far you want to go with it. You just know you want to go down that road. This is the perfect time for you to do that. And then the universe will, work that out. You're setting up that intention. That's the important part. And, I always say, do all you can, to move those things forward. But there's a certain aspect of allowing that comes into play as well. But yeah, good thing to know. And you're not really a stranger to that energy, because you're born on the 10th, which is also a 1. And so you probably find yourself in a leadership position often. And
unfortunately,
yeah, that's the thing. A lot of times people aren't real, they're not real into it sometimes, but, and so that's the thing about our numerology, is that it's the things that are in our chart are typically the things that aren't easy for us. Those aren't things we've mastered yet. In all the lifetimes that we've had, they're not the things that we've mastered yet. That's why we chose that. And I believe that we do. I believe that we choose to come in to a lifetime. And I believe that we choose our intention and the muscles we want to build in this lifetime, and the things that we want to master. And I think that I believe that our guides then assign us. They assign us our birth dates. They assign us our family. They assign us all these different things, so that we're able to accomplish what it is that we wanted to accomplish. The universe, I feel, always works on our behalf.
So you think that before even born, our soul guides have this from our birth to on already planned?
I think that so let's say we're on the other side, and just to kind of just simplify it, is that we're on the other side, and we're looking over our other lifetimes, and we're feeling like, I really did this and this and this really well. I feel like I really got this now. But then there's this other thing, so maybe it's you've had all these lifetimes and you have gained all this wisdom. But the thing that was missing was that you were never able, and this isn't under anybody else's opinion, this is our own opinion about our own soul development and where we want to be. And so we decide that, I got all this wisdom, but I don't trust it fully. I never learned to really trust my own wisdom. So we're sitting and we're having this conversation. I don't know if we sit, but anyway, we're having this conversation. And so then our guides say, okay, all right. And so we decide we want to come in and do a lifetime. So they say, okay, and these are the things that I want to master. These are the things that I really in my soul development, I really want to get there. So they'll say, okay, well, this is going to be your birth date, and this is going to be your name, and these will be your parents. And so it kind of goes like that, is how I see it. And
that's how I see it too.
Yeah.
All right, so I agree 100%. We pick whatever we want to master or achieve that we feel as though we could work on. And then the powers that be start intermingling us with the people we need to meet. Like Shay lives in New Hampshire. I've never met her face to face, but we're great friends.
Yeah. Well, like attracts like, energy is energy, and, like attracts like. So, what's interesting though, is that when we get set up with those things that we said we wanted to do and we're up against it, so we're really at that time where, we're going to get our PhD. And so, how we build muscle, is through lifting weights, right? To resist.
Yeah. Resistance.
And so it's the heavy lifting that builds the big muscles. And so yeah, a lot of times, so let's say, what I was talking about there with my, I never learned to trust my wisdom thing, that's the 9 energy. And so how would that work in the world? Well, what that would look like is we would likely feel often as though people really aren't on our side. As children, somebody who has the 9 energy, that would be somebody born in September, somebody who is born on the 9th, the 18th, of the 27th of the month, or maybe they have a 9 life path. Those people, especially the ones, I get people that come to me later in life, like, later in their 60s and stuff, and they had the 9 energy as children, and they're still feeling very damaged by not feeling heard. They felt like they had all this wisdom, which they did, and it was sort of a, children are to be seen and not heard kind of environment. And
which they've all heard me say that for myself. All the listeners, because I was born on the 9th. And all the listeners have heard me say how my family didn't want me to talk about things that I knew, that they couldn't figure out what I knew.
Right. And you're just a kid. How could you know that? And it would freak them out. It would freak them out, really. And so, what's the reason? It would be that, we get sent back to ourself. We get sent back to ourself. And when I say self, I mean the big S self. We have to think about it. We have to say, okay, well, I just feel like I really know this. They're not listening to me but I feel like I really know this. And why do I really feel like I know this? I don't know, but I just do, And so it's a matter of, throughout your life then, depending on how many 9s you have in your chart, it can be a pretty big deal, where the majority of your life, you're put in a position where you're sent back to yourself. And it's like I said, it's a muscle. And so the more you work it, the stronger it becomes. And the more that you trust your own self and you trust what you know, the safer you feel in the world, and then when you step fully into that at some point, it's really cool. It's really cool because, you're never really, you're tapped in. You're tapped into your guidance, and you're tapped into your higher knowledge. And, it's the sky's the limit at that point.
So, do you think you could tell us maybe just a tiny bit about what every number means for a year? I don't want you to give the whole potato chip bag away. If anybody wants to set up an appointment to have a numerology session with where Beverly does your numerology, she actually does free consultations. And so she can kind of go over information with you. And of course, again, your sacredblueprint.com is the best way to get a hold of you, correct?
Yes. And everything, and my phone number's on there as well, but every single thing that I do can be done over the phone. Does not, even the SRT, nothing. It's all energy. It's all energy. So we would not have to be face to face or anything like that, or in person. There's no limit there whatsoever.
Yeah. And like I said, Beverly's a very talented energy worker. Every time I've had a session with her for SRT, I literally cannot even smoke. The only reason I still smoke is because I choose to. Because I'll have a session with her and won't even smoke the whole day. And if I try, it makes me sick to my stomach because she clears all the energy away that would, makes me think I need to smoke or whatever. But then the habit gets me again.
And then, it's like my teacher said to me, she says, well, it's okay to do this, this, and this. She says, but just be aware that you are. And that's the cool thing about SRT is all that habitual stuff, eventually, goes away. It just clears. But then there's that sort of, testing that we do, is it done, or whatever it is.
I'm a tester.
Whatever it is that we do, it just comes down to it's being aware, and we're aware until we choose to do something different. And we do or we don't, We just do or we don't.
So I want to recap real quick. So for people who are in a 1 year, like Shay, this is about, it's all right. Cough, hack up along. This is about her kind of planting her seeds. And even though she may not do a lot of growth, this is about her deciding what exactly she wants to plant and nourish and start growing for the next 9 years, for a 1 year.
Yes. So if we take that example, how about if we just take that and run with it? What I think we should do here is start with, okay, so like I said, it goes 1 through 9, but I think that for this example, it would be really good to start with the 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so in a 9 year, what we're doing is we are detaching, we are making room. We're making room for all the new things that are going to be coming in our new cycle. And what starts happening is how we feel. So Shay, you would have been in this year last year. Okay. So we feel like the things that, not everything, but a lot of things that interested us before suddenly don't. They're, it could be the way we do our hair. It could be our furniture, could be a job that we have, could be a relationship that we're in, could be friendships, could be anything. Could be an annoying mole you have on your arm that you always wanted to have removed, but you never did. Those are the kind of things we do in a 9-year. We're usually very tired because there's a lot going on. And so life as we've known it sort of starts, well, it's changing. It's like a snake shedding its skin. We change on a very deep and profound level. And sometimes that's unsettling. Sometimes things go that make us sad, like a relationship, for example, or whatever. And the relationship doesn't always have to go, but it does have to change. And so again, that's like, that, and so that the renewal can happen, so that, the rebirth can happen. Sometimes people have been engaged or in a relationship, for a long time, and they decide to get married or get engaged or whatever it is. They take that next step into that new thing. So that's, but there's a lot of realizations that come in a 9-year. And did you experience that last year, Shay? Did you have things? Did you get rid of a lot of things? Did you feel different about things?
On choosing wise, no.
On what?
Choosing to get rid of things, no.
Well, no, it's not always a choice. So what I say is that if a person wants to hang on to certain things, try to do that. But if the universe, the universe is always on our behalf. And so if you're hanging on to something that really, really has sort of lost its purpose in your life, it's going to go. Chances are. And what happens is that the more we hang on to something that really is no longer for our highest good, it becomes a burden after that. And so, I always encourage people to just see what happens, and just allow. And I also remind them and make them aware that what's happening is, there's being room. The room is being made for new things to come in. And to the extent that we get rid of the things that, are no longer for our highest good, to the extent that we do that is to the extent that we have room for the new things.
So a 9-year is about sloughing off, whether it's by choice or by what's put into your path.
It's a natural thing. Yeah, it's very, very natural. It's sort of like, well, I knew that relationship wasn't going to last, or, well, I knew there was time for a change, or, just things become, it just feels appropriate. It's just, everybody likely who has, anybody who's over 9 years old has been through a 9-year, and they can relate to that. That they've been through that. There's just certain times when things just are no longer appropriate in your life, and it's the energy. It's the energy. So I'm not saying that we don't have choices. We can hang on to things that want to go. Mm-hmm. But it does become a burden. If it really wants to go out, then hanging on is, that's when we would likely do a clearing of some sort to clear the blocks or the fear of moving forward, of why are we hanging on to something that is no longer appropriate in our lives. So
I'm going to interrupt you real quick because everyone's having a little bit, they're a little bit confused on how to figure out what year they're in.
Okay.
So the dropping the 9 threw everybody off. Just so you guys know, it's a math shortcut because 2019. It adds up. If you add 2 plus 1 plus 9, and you keep adding it until you get a single digit, it's going to be a 3. Math shortcut, drop the 9. 2 plus 1 is 3. So she's just saying drop the 9 to shortcut stuff.
Some people do need to go the long hand, and so we can give them a moment to do that.
Yeah. So don't get confused by that.
Or just know that I'm telling you that 2019 is a 3. So take the month that you're born.
Mm-hmm. So, for example, Wolf's birthday is July 11th. So July's a 7.
Yes. 11. Okay, again, we distill down. So that's
be a 2.
So there's 9. 7 and 2 is 9.
Mm-hmm. Plus 3 for this year.
Plus the calendar year, 3.
Yeah, because 2019 calendar year is a 3 year.
So the cool thing about his is that he will always be, his personal year will always be the same as the universal year or the calendar year, whatever you want to call it. I was taught to say universal year, but that trips people up. So I'm going to say calendar year. So it will always be, because he's 7 and 2, he's 9. So anyway, not to confuse people further, but how does that feel for everybody?
Yeah, it's going to take them a second to hear us say this, but if you guys want to just put in your birthday, so example, Shay's birthday again is 6/10. So 6, we're going to drop the 0 plus 1 plus 3. When you keep on adding it, eventually it equals a single digit of 1.
Why do you add the 3? That's where I get confused. I mean, if you're doing your own personal number, wouldn't it be your year, not the calendar year?
No.
For your personal number, that would be your birth year. But for the year number,
okay,
you use the current year,
right,
which is 2019.
Different things. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So always
math is confusing everybody. Everyone's like, I don't know, but this is interesting.
I get that. I do. I get it. It's
I don't like math either. It's not my friend.
Well, that's why it's been so hard for me to teach this, is that I see numbers differently.
Anything with math, this is just my belief from watching one of my sons. Anything with math, once you learn a certain way and you can do it, boom, 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 you don't realize you have to stop and explain it. And even if you do stop and explain it, the way you're seeing the numbers aren't how the person next to you is doing it, because you're doing it so quick and so rapidly. It's so natural to you that
you can Rain Man that shit.
Right.
My son, when he was like 4, I think. If Matt's still in chat, he'll let us know. 4 or 5, he was already being the banker at Monopoly, and he would just be like, "Yep, 600 minus 900 plus 1100, boom, boom, boom." And I'm like, "You're 5. You're in first grade, dude. What are you doing?"
Yeah, well, it's like I said, I can't not do it. It's just. Yeah. Sometimes I have to just, look away, because there's numbers everywhere. Yeah. I'm adding up addresses, and I'm adding up license plates, and I'm adding up, so what happens is the universe now communicates with me through numbers. And so it's an interesting thing. It's really, really, really interesting how that all works. But so anyway, that is the 9. That's what's going to go on most of the 9. If you want to have, if there's an elective surgery, something that's been a problem, chances are, the 9 is going to be a great time. Let's say you want to quit drinking, or let's say you decide to go on a diet, or, drop any sort of, habit or whatever. The 9 energy is so conducive with that. It's so much easier. In a 9, because everything is set up to, help you put down the burdens, put down the things that are no longer appropriate in your life. It's the right action for the energy. So that's what I would say about the 9. And people are usually pretty glad when I start saying, if you've been tired, this is why. And they're so relieved, because they often are. They just find they don't have a lot of energy in a 9, and it's because you're not supposed to. It's not about putting your energy out. It's not about going out and doing things. It's about allowing things to sort of fall into place, letting things fall away that are ready to fall away. And so we get a real opportunity at that point to trust, to trust the natural order of things, to trust the universe, to, really trust. So anyway, that's the 9. So then when we get into the 1 year, what happens is, like we were talking about with Shay, is that's where we start taking advantage of the opportunity of the room that has been made. And what happens is that right about, I would say mid-February, about this time of year, in a 1 year, that's when you start getting a glimpse of some of the new things that come in. There's new opportunities that you don't yet know about. You start noticing that my teacher would call it mouthy. You start to get kind of mouthy. You start noticing that you say things that you wouldn't normally say. You blurt things out because it's all about initiating. It's all about, leadership. It's about being out in front. And so, there's just a lot of male energy, we call it. And so that's what you're doing pretty much. You start noticing you're getting more energy again. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily an easy year because, again, how do we build muscle? Through resistance. How do we build strength? Through resistance. So sometimes, my teacher would say, you have guaranteed success in a 1 year as long as you don't give up. Sometimes you feel like it, but if you have guaranteed success as long as you don't. So, that's the thing. That's in a numerology reading, we talk about all of that.
Okay.
And so that's what I would say about the 1 year. Does that sound, everybody following okay?
I think so. I'm breaking down their years for them. Everyone's given me their birth month and date, and then we're adding that to 3. So I'm doing it in.
You want to wait for a minute till everybody so they can.
I put it in chat if somebody needs to know what their year is, their personal year. So your personal birth number is maybe if it would help if we called it something else. Your life path.
Well. So we have a chart. Everybody has a chart. And so you have your day, month, and year of birth. Those are your own. That's your chart. Those things are always going on. Those are the umbrella that's over everything that's going on. But then within that time, like I was saying, that there's a pinnacle every 9 years. And within that pinnacle, we have our energies 1 through 9. And so, it all works together. It's like, like if you're building a car, for example, everything's got to go in a certain order. You build the body, that happens at a certain time. You put the wheels on at a certain time, but it's all about the car. So it's just a matter of all those things work together for the goal. And so within your chart, every single person has what's called their personal year.
Okay.
And their personal year is for the calendar year.
Yes.
And it changes every year.
Yes.
And it goes in sequence 1 through 9.
Yes. So for anybody who's in a 2-year, someone who's taken the 3 from the 2019 and added that plus the month that they were born, plus the date they were born, and they equal it down and it gets to the single digit of 2, what are just a couple things they might expect?
Okay. Well, in a 2, that is all about patience.
Okay.
So let's say we're planting the seeds in the 1 year. So in the 2 year, that's when they germinate. But they're under the soil, and we don't know that they're germinating. We're having an opportunity for faith building here. It's like, that baking that souffle thing. You don't open the oven, you just got to know it's baking. And so that's how it is with the 2. And so the 2, there's a lot of details that are happening now. We planted the seeds, we've made our plans, we've decided what we're going to do. Now here's the time to apply the details.
So it's time to you've decided, and we'll just use Shay as an example. She had to step away, but she'll be back. She's decided to start this network, this podcasting network. Mm-hmm. So in her 2 year, this is about her really putting fertilizer on it and making sure it's properly, so checking in with all her hosts and really making sure everybody's taken care of the right way, or everyone's still on board with what she started by planning it.
Right. Pay attention to all the details, whatever would come into that. So like, your equipment,
Yeah. So next year she might be spending more money on buying better equipment or something like that.
Things will go a little slower than what she had planned. But what I remind people of when we're in a numerology reading is that we're talking about that energy. We're talking about, what's really going on, and knowing that, that whatever we planted is growing now, and that has to happen. And so we have opportunities, I call it, for patience. The universe brings us, because that's what we're learning that month. We're learning about patience, and we're learning about harmoniously coexisting, and we're learning about groups, those kinds of things. And so it's pretty much anything that could try your patience seems like it's there.
So it'll happen in the 2 year.
It will. Yeah. Things don't move real fast.
So after they start, so once someone in their 2 year, their whole year is about their patience.
Yeah.
Patience. So what do they get for their reward in the 3 year?
Well, I find that like about in the 2 year, right around the first week, second week of November, you start getting evidence. You start getting evidence that that is in fact true. The seeds that you planted are growing, and there's your little seedlings, that are starting to sprout. And so in the 3 year, that is about creativity. It's about being social. It's about, our appearance. We care more about our appearance in a 3 year. But the most important thing about the 3 is expression. Okay. And so in order for the 3 year to go really smoothly, it's really important to express. And because there's a lot of energy we get downloaded with a lot of energy in a 3. And to the extent that we express that energy is to the extent that we feel peaceful in a 3. When we get agitated and anxious and all of that, it's because we're not expressing the energy as fast as it's coming in. So it's a real opportunity. This is when you would write a book if you wanted to. If somebody was, it's like modeling, it would be modeling. It would be, it could be design work of any kind, anything that's creative and expressive.
And
those are the things that you would want to do. Speaking. So, like in Shay's, to keep up with that example, that would have to do with the network. That would have to do with speaking. That would have to do with, all of those things. Okay. So, really important.
We actually have a listener that, like we talked about, Wolf, he's in a 3 year. So this is about him using his creative energy.
Yes. And also the thing about the 3 is that it's usually if a person has not come to terms with, let's say, their childhood or something where they have emotional trauma of some sort, this is usually the year where they can get a lot done. They can get a lot done in therapy or, let's say, SRT, for example, anything to do with resolving those things, those issues. A 3 is you just naturally feel like you have to. You just feel like, I got to get this off me. I got to finally make peace with this. And that's a lot that goes on as well. And that's another form of expression. It's getting that energy up and out and expressed.
Okay. So now once somebody has gone into their 3 year, they've worked out, really expressing themselves. I mean, honestly, it sounds like a year you might choose to buy a new wardrobe, or a year you choose to change your diet or something.
Yeah.
So what's a 4 year going to be for them?
So a 4 year. So if we continue with Shay's example here, this is where.
Sorry, Shay, you're our guinea pig.
No, that's fine. No, I'm fine with it.
It's perfect because she has, she's in the 1 year, so it's a perfect, perfect thing. So, but in the 4 year, that's where, that has to do with structure. That's structure. That's building our foundation. So she's got all these other things going with her network. And so this is where she builds a strong foundation beneath her plans. So she planted the seeds in the 1 year. She decided the direction she wanted to go. And so now this is where we make sure that we're not building on sand. This is where we build on concrete. This is where we decide, okay, and it's about being organized. And what we find is in the areas of our life where we're not organized, it really is it's really obvious to us in a 4 year. So to the extent that we are organized in a 4 year is to the extent that the next year and the following years are much easier. They go more smoothly. That foundation is everything. It's everything. So the other thing about the 4 is that so if the foundation is really, really important, and the universe is always on our side, what happens is that anything that you need to know about that is throwing you off is going to come into your awareness. And you might say, okay, I decided to get really organized, and now all of a sudden my life is falling apart. None of these things are new things. And that's what I encourage people to look at when we're in a numerology readings. I will say, if you think about it, none of these things are new. These things have always been there.
Yeah, so the things in the year 1, year 2, and year 3 that they really didn't concrete in or take care of, those things will come up in your 4 year that it's time to seal the deal on all these things.
Yeah, it'll just get to that place where we put things in order. Okay. And it becomes very, very, very clear, that it has to be done. Okay. So then we do that in the 4 year. And then the 5 year comes along. And so let's say that in Shay's example where she started this network, let's say she got mixed up with some people that aren't going even though they said they were. Turns out they're not going the direction that they said that they were, that you think that they are. They're just not. So the universe reveals that to us. It's usually really quick. It's usually really sudden, but it's complete. Information is given to us. I always say that we can't not know from that point forward. And again, it's a built-in protection for us, but they just get removed. And that can be anything that turns out that's not going the direction that you're trying to go. It's about change. It's all about change. Sometimes it comes quick, fast, sudden, like a shock. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's always, always, always something that we look back on and we're thankful for. Always. It sometimes, like I said, it can hit you pretty suddenly, but...
Are you sure last year wasn't 5? Just saying.
It might have been an overtone. It might have been an overtone.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Not to throw in another... Well, in your 9 year, it could have been in May, for example, then you would have been in a 5 month. So that's a dynamic, that's a really dynamic combination. So
numerology is a lot like astrology. There's so much depth that it can go into. And I put this in chat, but I want to make sure for anybody who isn't in chat or perhaps listening later, that if you were to schedule a numerology reading with Beverly, she schedules you for an hour and a half. So she's able to really explain everything. You're able to ask questions.
And focus just on that person.
Just on you specifically. Yes. Yeah. I mean, this is why she's just given us little samples of each year. Because then if you're in the year, what she's describing is going to, click, click, click. And then you're going to say, okay, I need to know more. Well, Beverly's the person to give you more.
And I have found that the hour and a half is it's like the perfect timing. I've never had anybody say, oh, I wish we had more time. It just feels complete. It just naturally completes. We go over everything. We go over your, I do your chart and then I go with guidance. It's different for everyone, but, guidance shows me where to start in your whole chart. But we cover everything. We cover your personal year, your personal month. We cover your life path, everything. And, it's just complete. It's you have enough to go on, I feel.
Well, I'm excited to talk about year 6 since I'm in a 6 year. Well, let's talk about 6.
One more thing I wanted to say about the 5 is it also has to do with fertility.
Okay.
It has to do with fertility. So if someone were to say, I want to get pregnant or I don't want to get pregnant, I would say this is what you would want to be aware of. It's also 5 has to do with sales. So anytime you're in a 5, it's a great opportunity to be in sales. Let's say you've been wanting to have a yard sale. They'd say, when's a good time to have a yard sale? Well, I would say, we would find the 5. That's what we would go looking for. Mm-hmm. So that's 5. So the 6 has to do with service. It has to do with service. It has to do with responsibility. Family.
My dog wants me to let him out, but he's going to have to wait till I hear this, and then I'm going to have to get up and let him out because he's pacing in the hall, and we don't want an accident. He's like 13.
Yeah, so family, that kind of stuff. So let's say if we took the whole fertility thing in the 5, let's say we get pregnant, and then we got our following year coming up, that's 6, that's family responsibility. So we have a baby now, so it's like that. But yeah, 6 usually has to do with taking on some sort of responsibility and some sort of service. And the goal is to be happy about that, to go willingly, to look for opportunities to serve. And it's a year where there can be some negativity that we feel, but the right action for that is to look to service, look to others. How can I help somebody when I'm in 6, that it pulls us up and out of that. So, and that's what I tell people in a numerology reading. We talk about the right action for the energy, what I call unlocking codes. There's a right action for every energy. And so, and everything, there's the polarity. There's, we decide kind of where we're going to be within that energy. So that's the right action for the energy of the 6. Then we move on to the 7, and the 7. So 1 through 6 has to do with the physical plane, the earth plane.
Shay, don't forget to ask Dell's question when she's talking about the 7 year.
I missed the question, so you're going to have to ask it.
Okay. Well, I'll let
go back and look, but I missed it.
Okay. Well, we'll let her go ahead. And you won't even know I'm gone. Tell us. So 1 through 6 is the physical plane, and 7.
Yeah, the earth plane, and then 7 through 9 is the spiritual plane. So when you enter into a 7 year, it really becomes about your spirituality and the big S, self. And so anything that is geared towards your spiritual development is going to go well for you. It's going to flow well. It's not a time where we are out in the world initiating things. This is about going inside. It's about knowing and understanding that, we become acutely aware that what we're looking for isn't out there. It's inside. So any sort of self-work that we can do in a 7 is the right action for the energy. And it can be a real peaceful time when I'm in a 7 year. So when you do that, when you understand that, and when you do that, it can be a very peaceful time. But some people in a 7 year, they know that needs to be done, but they don't really want to. So there's a lot of diversions that can happen in a 7 year. A person could, it's also the number of, it's one of those things. It's kind of like the moon card in the tarot in a way. It's that there can be illusion. We can get lost in illusion. We can divert ourselves with drugs and alcohol. That sometimes is the case, But if the goal is spirituality, and let's say we do go that route and we do the drugs, we do the alcohol, we overconsume in those ways, we really get sort of caught up in that.
Sounds like the 7 of Cups, too.
Yes. At some point, we usually decide to stop that. And, let's say we go into a treatment or a treatment center or something along those lines. What are we going to be doing then? We're going to be finding out, why did we do that? We're going to be learning about the self. It all comes back around. There's no right and wrong. There's no right and wrong. There's good, better, best is how I see it. Yeah. And, we do what we do until we don't. It's just how it is. And, maybe we spend our whole life doing that. Okay. So who knows? Maybe we come back another lifetime and master that. Or maybe we're doing that because maybe we decided, maybe we agreed to teach somebody else unconditional love. I mean, it's hard to say. We don't know. We just do what we do. We do the best we can. And everybody really, I feel, is doing the best that they can. So
agreed.
There's no judgment at all. It's just one of those things. The 7 is, it's a faith building opportunity. And sometimes we sit it out.
So Dell's question was about 7. He says, what do you know about 432 megahertz?
And also, what does it have to do with year 7? Because I didn't realize that's the question you were talking about, because I didn't understand that it had to do with year 7.
I told him I would wait till we got to 7 to ask his question.
I didn't want to ask her before we got to 7.
Okay.
So he wants to know about what number?
Well, it's 432. So it equals 7. No, it's 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. I added
So,
one.
so this is an object. This is megahertz.
It's a frequency, like a radio frequency. So, Del, you're going to have to give us more details on your question.
Well, so it's a 9.
Mm-hmm. He's wanting to know if it's like a magical, because I'm assuming it's in like some sort of like meditation or they'll do meditations on YouTube in certain megahertz.
Well, when I think about 9 and I think about spirituality, I think about things like Buddhism, ancient, wisdom, sage. It's old, it's tried and true. It's that, it's accessing that wisdom that really what it's about is being still and going and allowing, just allowing and doing whatever you have to do to get to that place, which is, in and of itself, that's a pretty big deal. That can be a spiritual practice all on its own, to have that ability to get still even. So
doing a meditation at that megahertz is able to help you be still for the meditation, probably?
I think so, but it's about accessing that sage wisdom, I think. Mm-hmm. And so what do? You got to be receptive. You got to be an open vessel. You got to work on that, allowing that to happen.
And so balance.
Well, just allowing that wisdom to come through. And so, that's one of the things we do in SRT is we clear blocks to all of that. And there's a lot of reasons why we would set that up and have that in our life. But that's what I would say about that is
it allows, helps you allow the balance.
Mm-hmm. Well, the wisdom. It's not so much about balance. Now the 8 energy, if we move on to the 8, that is about balance. That, if I were to pick one energy that people call me about the most, it's the 8.
Wow.
Yeah, it's tough.
I'm sorry. Before we get into this one, I have a quick question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So if I'm year 1, if I'm in year 1 right now, I just want to make sure I understand this. So in 7 years from now, I'll be in my year 8?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So it changes for everybody. Not everybody's in the same.
Right.
I figured that out like 15, 20 minutes ago, but I was trying to find the right time to ask. Because I thought everybody was in the same year, but all right. I just wanted to make sure I got that part. All right. I'm sorry.
Everybody has the same formula, but the numbers.
But everybody's in a different spot, a different year. Their years. All right. I got it.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, yeah. So the 8, and it's, I don't mean to say the 8 is tough. I think it's only tough until you identify it. Once you identify something and you know what it is, then you know what to do with it. And, I've had people who thought they were alcoholics. They thought they were all these things. And really what it came down to is that it's about balance. They came here to learn about balance. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to learn how to not overdo or underdo, to find the middle. And that's what we talk about. We spend a lot of time talking about tools and techniques that help them to understand, it's a neural pathway. And when we talk about changing how, and it can be done quickly, relatively quickly. And you don't have to have that monkey on your back. And once it's identified, then it becomes easy. I mean, and I say easy, meaning it's like, oh, okay, I know what to do now. And so we talk about, a lot of people that have the 8 energy really strong in their charts. This could be somebody born in August. This could be somebody that was born on the 8th, the 17th, the 26th of a month, or has everything that adds to an 8 for an 8 life path. But we all, every 9 years, we experience every energy. So it can be a time in an 8 year, it can be a time where we gain weight. It's an energy where if somebody has anorexic or bulimic tendencies, that would show up then. If somebody had tendencies to be a workaholic, or let's say not work at all, I mean, it could go either way. We get opportunities to be balanced, to know how to balance our life and balance our energy and balance ourselves.
Would you say it's like your desire for some sort of emotional change or job change or home change, all of that kind of comes to a head in an 8 year?
Well, the 8, what happens with a person in an 8 is that they start really noticing things are out of control. They get an opportunity to do something new, for example, and instantly they get a knot in their stomach, and because they feel they have to do everything perfectly. There's always the extremes. So, and they feel like, well, if I don't have the energy to do it absolutely perfectly, then I don't want to do it at all. So there's the all or nothing. So then they sit it out. And so either way, though, it seems to end up in some form of self-loathing, because they're self-loathing because they didn't do something they wanted to do. Or they have self-loathing because they are committed and they can't do it. They can't keep it up. They can't. And so it ends up in some form. And so that's what we talk about. We talk about it. It's not this really big thing that it seems like it is. It's really basic. And so we talk about that. And I give people tools. And then the awareness starts happening. And when you have the awareness, we then have choices. It's not that it's running you then anymore. You can then run it. There's things that happen to get you in that place of awareness. And so, it's, and again, we get there when we get there, but, having self-loathing is not a good, it's not productive.
Right. Well, so Dell actually had another question about twins, and this kind of sounds like a really good answer for like twins. I mean, you're on the same path, but that doesn't mean, one of you could be self-loathing and the other one can be completely self-loving. It's the extreme of one and extreme of the, because I guess he wanted to know about twins in numerology. I mean, it's like they're going to have the same energy at the same time, but it could be polar opposites, but it's still the same kind of energy.
Well, we have choices, and so It's like two people seeing the same car wreck. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes they're going to talk about, they saw something different. Seldom do people see exactly the same thing.
Right.
So it's the same thing in life. We're individual souls, even though we have those same birth dates. We're individual souls. We have our agendas, and so, maybe, maybe we're, I don't know, let's say we were 4, we're born on the 22nd or the 4th or whatever. So it's about, being organized in your life, needing to have organization in your life, needing to have the structured environment, all of that. Well, one might decide, maybe they're an older soul, and maybe they're like, you know what, I can't take that anymore. I've lived all these lifetimes where I've had this chaotic situation, and I know how much more peaceful I am when I'm organized. So they decide to go ahead and be organized, in their life. But the other one, maybe that's a young soul. Maybe same birthday, but maybe they're a young soul, and maybe they're like, rules, structure, who needs that? So they don't do that yet.
Excuse me.
And so one has a chaotic life, sleeping on people's couches and stuff throughout their, time until they decide, maybe that's structured, or maybe there's something to that.
Yeah.
But, we have choices. There's the polarity, like I was saying. There's the good, better, best. So does that make sense?
Yes, to me. He has a question about same birthday energy, but I've asked him to maybe reword the question because I'm not really understanding. He says it's a good answer about eternal age.
Eternal age?
I think that's what he's saying. Guess it'd help if I had my glasses.
No, that's what it says. That's what it says.
But
I'll
slowly moving my phone. I'm slowly moving my phone a little further away.
Janet asked a question a while ago that we never got to, or I was out of the room. So if I'm repeating it, I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't. No, I didn't see.
I think it was Janet. She asked if you ever use a person's name with their numerology reading.
I was just going to say, that's another thing. So I was going to say about twins too, is that, even the alphabet has a vibration. Every letter, so like, you can hear the different vibration, like for Jen, for example. Jen is one vibration, and then Jennifer, you can see the difference there and how that hits you. And also vibration. How you feel that vibration. So with twins, you both have different names. So I don't go into the alphabet a whole lot. And the reason that I don't is because with a person's day, month, and year of birth, I feel like there's so much to go on. I mean, if I were to do a reading for somebody and they were to say, okay, well, I already know all that and I'm not having a hard time with any of it, I would then wonder, why did they want a reading? What was going on with that? Mm-hmm. But at that point, I guess, we could go into that, but I see numerology as a tool in life to help take us to our highest good. And there's so much information that comes with each energy. And like I said, in a reading, we go over the overtones and all of that. That kind of gets to be like, what I call organizing your sock drawer. You look real busy, but you're really not getting a lot done. And so that's one of the reasons I don't spend a lot of time on the alphabet. But it's valid. It's definitely something, if somebody really wanted to go looking into it, definitely it's, it could be something for fun, for sure. Wow. So, but then, like I was saying about the doing all the energies, 1 through 9. So we finished the 8. And I was going to say one more thing about the 8. It's also legal. It's definitely a time for legal things. I always tell people, probably want to watch it that you don't speed, you don't, when you're driving, you don't park in places that say no parking, because you're magnetic to legal things at that time. And chances are really good that that's when you'll get caught.
Janet said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So 8 energy, do not break the law more than we normally say don't break the law. Be very, very careful with 8 energy.
Yes, because that you are magnetic to that. That's where that like attracts like.
Now I have a question for you too. Okay. Because I've seen a few numerologists, and mind you, I haven't done numerology as faithfully as you have for as long as you have, but I've known about numerology since, oh my God, I was in high school. I've never, ever, so I don't agree with this, is what I'm saying, is I've seen numerologists insist that 11s are a number, and I just don't see that. It's a 2.
Well, It is, but we have what's called power numbers.
Okay.
So 11 is a power number. 22.
11, 22. I was just going to say, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
That's there's one set of numerology, and the next level is all the double ones, right?
The 11, the 22, and I think the 33. I don't know if it goes up to 44 or not.
I think 33 at least. Yeah, I heard that before. So
Okay.
but it's different.
So-
It's not the basic. It's a different. I don't want to say basic.
Well, it's still a 2, but it's like a 2 cubed. It's the mountain is a little higher, but the payoff is as well. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the master numbers.
Okay.
Different tiers, kind of. I can't explain
Yeah,
it. I remember hearing it, but I can't quite. It's just different. It's a different tier or different level. But the basic is 1 through 9.
Yes. Yes. And so when we talk about, so let's say I am having a reading with somebody who has some power numbers, we're still basically going to be talking about the same thing. Only thing is that, you know, how they got to their 2 was through 2 1s. Okay.
Yeah.
So we would talk about that energy also. We would talk about, you know, the initiating aspect of that and having a lot of a unique perspective about things and feeling very passionate about their unique perspective about things. And they definitely see things, you know, in their own unique way. And a lot of times they can bring about change to the world, you know, because of their unique expression, you know, their unique take on what they see and what they experience. So, yeah.
That's interesting. My I have a cousin who's born 1/1/1.
Oh. Well,
I couldn't tell you the year.
so you're saying January 11th or November 1st?
January 11th.
Mm.
I couldn't tell you the year for the life of me right now, though.
Yeah. Well, that person.
I just want to give you guys a warning. I know we said an hour and a half,
And
we
we're
have
almost there.
6 minutes
Okay.
left. I'm
Okay.
good. I'm just letting. I know what we said, so I just like giving
Well,
everybody
and
heads up.
Well, does anybody have questions?
Yeah, I feel pretty complete on explaining. So anything that anybody wants to know.
So basically, what I had asked Beverly to do is give you little samples of
She
what
did an awesome
each year. Yes, she did, of what it could hold for you. But that's just a sample.
Yeah.
Obviously, a numerology reading, if she, you know, you do your free consultation with her, she finds out your birthday, then, I mean, it really goes into depth. And I had when I met Beverly, I had a short reading with her. And all the things she was telling me was just like, yes, 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 yes. And then I took a little short course on astrology. And as I'm learning more about just my chart, I'm like, oh my God, this is just like what Beverly said. Oh my God, it's just amazing to me how your astrology chart and your numerology chart are so hand in hand.
I'm glad you said that, because that was the one question I had that I didn't get to, is if they lined up or they didn't. If they're
so truth is truth, and truth will always repeat itself.
Yeah.
You know, there could be, you know, I mean, it could be anything. I mean, if it's true, it could be said 5 or 6 different ways. But the essence of it is always going to be that truth. And that's what I love about it, is that truth, because people hear things differently. Like we were talking about the numbers, for example. People see numbers differently. People hear things differently. Sometimes, now see, astrology is not something that ever stuck for me. It was just overwhelming. I couldn't see how it all went together.
It is.
Numerology, I took to it I just took to it, and it was natural for me. It's just natural, but everybody has their way of assimilating information.
Yeah,
and
we just talked about this the other night. Almost the same thing about that whole people. We were talking about paranormal people, but this goes for anybody, that people get butthurt and fight over things, and if they would just stop fighting and actually listen, that half the time they're saying the same thing, they're just saying it differently.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Looking for the common threads, looking for what do we have in common rather than, yeah, it does. Exactly. It comes down to listen.
Yep.
And again, allowing, somebody else to express or speak their truth, in the way that they need to express or speak it. And, it's exactly right, Shay. I think that's exactly right.
Some people are better listeners and some people are better talkers, but if we would all just listen long enough or figure out what you're better at and let people explain their side and just really listen and don't take that defensive stand, you'll hear the meaning, not just the words.
Listening is a fine art, and I had a counselor one time, and she said, just be curious, be curious. So that was such good advice. It's to be curious about what somebody's saying rather than automatically, but again, we do what we do till we don't. And, we have to at some point decide that, communication and peace and all of that is more important than always, being on the defense.
Right. Yeah. People are more concerned with being right.
Right.
My opinion. I don't think that everybody's saying thank you, that it was awesome. They really liked you. They're all saying it in different ways, but they're all saying they loved the show. They loved the information you were putting out there.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
So, I think we're right on time. See, Beverly? For once, we said an hour and a half, and we meant it.
I know. Apparently, she only needs an hour and a half for everything. 90 minutes.
It's at 9. Like Del said, it's at 9.
Well, so what is the 9? The 9's completion, right?
There you go.
Yep. See? There you have it. The truth again.
Sorry, that was an alarm. The truth again. Yeah, there you go.
Beverly, would you like to throw your social media stuff out there so everybody once again knows where to find you now that we have a few more listeners in there?
Do you have any social media?
Well, at this time, I do have an Instagram. I have not been posting. So that's something I'm still getting into that.
What is it?
It's yoursacredblueprint.com. No, it's just Your Sacred Blueprint. As one word or? Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, on Instagram, Instagram, it's all one word.
Yeah, so, I just haven't learned how to do it yet.
I'm following you.
What?
I put in a request to follow you.
Yay. Well, then the only other thing would be my website.
So, and that's Your Sacred Blueprint. Am I saying it right?
Yeah. Okay. And so, it's the things that I do I found were hard to distill down into the written word. Yeah. So when people have questions, about the website or the information there, or want to know more about anything, like I said, and like Jen has said, I do offer a free phone consultation, and we explore. You sort of tell me what's going on, and then we decide. I have what's called a premium package, which has both of my services, and there's a discounted rate. And the clearing would always be first, because we're going to be giving you new information. And so we want to.
You don't want to do the reading and then clear the energy and change the energy. And
right. We want to make you fertile ground, for this new stuff. So we clear that stuff away. And then usually within about 7 days, I like to keep it within about 7 days. We'll do the numerology reading, and the numerology is then done at a discounted rate. So all that's on the website. So, but we do all kinds of clearing work. We do inner child work, and the inner child work is not like going to the therapist and having to dredge up everything that mommy and daddy did, and all of that. It's not like that. We're accessing. My guidance already knows your guidance. We work together, we tap it in, and we work at clearing those things away. And
so you'll come back on and tell us a little bit more about SRT.
Right.
And I mean, some of you have already heard Beverly and I talk about it on my show, but that show unfortunately, is no longer available on Spreaker or on YouTube. That. Yeah,
I know I was very quiet
good
tonight.
Stuff.
I was very quiet tonight, especially for me. But when it's a new subject for me, I am quiet. It's not the first time I've ever been quiet on a show. If I don't know something, I just sit back and listen. And
absorb it.
I absorb. Yeah, I absorb it. That's what I do.
And that's wonderful. It's wonderful. Yeah. It's like I said, it's a fine art to listen. It really is.
I do a lot of talking, but I actually listen a lot more than people think. But when it's new like this to me, I just absorb it. And I'll have a million questions in a week after I run it through my head of 15 million times. But, start looking it up.
You can I'm sure you can always message Beverly. And I'm not saying she's going to do this for everybody. I'm saying that if Shay has a question about the show, that Beverly will be happy to answer.
I'll just ask Jen and make Jen look up the information.
You'll make me ask Beverly?
I could do that.
Yeah.
We talk. Well, we don't talk every day, but we talk at least once a month.
Yep.
I thought you meant me and you. I'm like, what? Who have I been talking to then? Once a month. We talk more than that.
Oh, no. We talk. Oh, God, poor Shay. I probably drive that woman crazy.
No.
She's like, what do you want to do for our next show? I don't know. What do you want to do? She's like, Jennifer? Oh, wait, I want to have my friend Beverly on. Okay, ask her.
No. If you're going to tell a story, tell it right. She says, next week, I swear, it's your choice. You pick anything. And I'm like, well, do you want metaphysical or do you want paranormal? She's like, I want my friend on. Okay, so it's not my choice, but I'm up for it.
So next Sunday, Shay's choice.
Oh, all right, guys.
Are you going to do shout-outs?
Oh, yeah.
And I'll look up a phone number while you're doing shout-outs.
Yes, I will do. Guys, I'm sorry. I've had a very long week and my chat just closed. Give me a second. I'll bitch for a minute. My first swear word. That was my first swear word of the night, and it was just the B word. Here we go. It's open again. Here we go. Thank you, Wolf. We have Jen B. We have Dell. We have Miss Kim Purvis. We have me. We had Luna in there. We have Miss Jen B. We have Janet. I can only scroll so far is my problem. And if
Jen and Dell.
I said Janet and Dell. Yeah.
Okay. And Michael came in.
Yes, Michael came in. That's why I can't scroll all the way to the bottom for some reason. It never lets me, so I always get nervous. I'm sure I'll get bombarded with questions this coming week. I know a lot of people were busy tonight, and they set it up front, like before. Yeah, Michael. It's a good thing about our listeners, though. They always go back and listen to replays. That's as far as I can go, so if I missed you, I am truly sorry. Thank you for being in chat, and don't forget, we are taking suggestions on what to call our Paranormal Buzz chatters, because I can't keep calling them the chatters forever.
I'm telling you, let's call them buzzers.
We couldn't remember it, and you had left the show Friday at that point.
Buzzers. There are
All right,
buzzers.
well, I'll add it. I'm going to do a poll at the end of the month.
Hashtag buzzers, bitches. There are buzzer bitches.
Right. I got to do my ownery.
Oh, wait, I got to do the phone number.
Let me do this first, and then you do that.
Okay, just so you know, Beverly, what we do is we give out hotline information on every one of our shows. So that's why I keep saying phone number.
Yeah.
Okay.
My end of the show thing is really quick now because I'm just doing the 2 new things this week, and
okay.
I have it all recorded to play as soon as we end. But tomorrow, B Squared is back, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, 5:30 Pacific.
Woo-hoo.
Paranormal Comedy with Benji and Brittany, and the premiere of REP Paranormal and Friends with Kim Purvis and Allison Robinson with a very special guest named Shay.
Woohoo!
Woohoo. So excited!
I'm the sound
looking
effects
forward
apparently.
to that. And all the other shows that are going to be on will be running as soon as we end the show. I got it all pre-recorded now, so I don't screw it up.
So I thought I would give out veterans hotlines information. So
yeah, we
for
haven't done that one in a while.
Yep, haven't done it in a while, but we have 3 for that.
Yep.
So we have the Veterans Crisis Line, which is 1-800-273-8255, and then it says to press 1, the number 1. So again, that's 1-800-273-8255, and then press the number 1. For the women's veterans, specifically just for women veterans, the call center is 1-855-VA-WOMAN. VA for, I don't know, 1-855-VA-WOMAN. And if you or a friend or somebody you know is a homeless veteran, you can get aid for that. And that is 877-4AID-VET. 877.
Can you repeat that? I coughed over you. Just repeat the number.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
877-424-3838. 877-424-3838.
Thank you.
We want to take care of our vets.
Yes,
Thank you, veterans.
Thank you, veterans.
Thank you. Yes.
Definitely.
Beverly, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You always have fascinating things to talk about. You have such a plethora of knowledge on this subject. So thank you for sharing a little bit of that with us.
Yes.
Well, thank you for having me, and I had a lot of fun.
I did too, and I enjoyed it. And I actually learned some stuff, which I always love doing. So
Wonderful.
All right, guys. I will see you Thursday and Friday night right here on Paranormal Buzz Radio, live on Spreaker. And, of course, Jen and I will see you next Sunday with whatever I feel like talking about for once.
Yay!
Yay!
Yippee!
Yippee! So, thank you for joining us, whether it's live or you listen later. Thank you, guys. Good night, and we will see you later.
Thank you for listening. Paranormal Buzz Radio is live only on Spreaker. You can also find us on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitchers, and Spotify. Here is your winter and spring show lineup for 2019. Every Sunday night, The Skeptic and the Psychic with Shay Carroll and Psychic Jen B. 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Every other Monday, B Squared Magic Monday with Brittany and Benji, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 Central, 5:30 Pacific. Coming March 11th, every alternate Monday will be Origin with Benji and Matt, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, 5:30 Pacific. Coming February 21st, every Thursday night, REP Paranormal and Friends with Kim and Allison and the rest of the REP Paranormal Buster gang. 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Friday night, Shay's Paranormal Chat with Shay Carroll and Kelly McCarville. 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Saturday nights, Into the Abyss with Peggy Gypsy, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific. To find out more about Paranormal Buzz Radio, check out our website at paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram.